Welcome back, Kleschka Crew. You guys were asking all season long, what happened to Kleschka Picks? I just took a nice little gap season with the series, but I am bringing it back for the NFL playoffs. Let's go! Funny enough, I got this full-size Seahawks helmet just in time. What do you guys think? It's a little big, wouldn't you say? We'll just leave that back there. Okay, there you go. With the brand new Seahawks helmet, me and all my Seahawks gear, why don't we start with Super Wildcard Weekend and the 49ers versus my Seattle Seahawks. First of all, can we give it up for the Detroit Lions? I just want to say thank you so much. We literally would not be in this position without you. You will forever have a special place in my heart. And then can we talk about how crazy this season was? We trade away our franchise quarterback in Russell Wilson. So many of the fans not wanting to see him go. And then we enter the Geno era, and Geno Smith balls out, has a career year. All of our rookies that we got from that trade with draft picks hit. Tariq Woolen, Cross, Kenneth Walker, all balled out. And I am just so grateful that we were actually able to turn a season where everybody was saying we were going to be at the bottom of the league into a playoff year. I was one of those fans. I thought we were doomed. Little did I know that Russell Wilson would go to Denver and stink it up and also get us a top draft pick coming into the next NFL draft because they played so bad and had such a bad record. Thank you, Russ. You're still helping out the Seahawks even when you're not on the team. I will say, he is my favorite player and it was hard to watch him go through that season. I hope he rebounds. Now, let's talk about the playoff game that we have ahead of us. 49ers, they swept us in the regular season, and they had to overcome adversity, losing Trey Lance in the very beginning of the season. Jimmy Garoppolo went down, and Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy, stepped up. And along with all these quarterback problems, somehow finding a way out of it, their defense was the best in all of football. They balled out. They were the MVPs of that team. That defense was strong, and that is what I'm scared of as a Seahawks fan. I got to be realistic here. I'm not trying to do any bias. As much as I want my Seahawks to win, the defense, like I mentioned, was balling out all year. Their rush defense, I think, is the strongest part of their defense, and if you take away Kenneth Walker in our run game and force Geno Smith, it becomes a lot more difficult for our Seahawks. We saw that a few times in games we played this year. So, as much as I hate the 49ers, I think they will win this game 30-20. Legit, they're the team I hate the most in the NFL. Can't stand them. Speaking of a guy I can't stand, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers against the Dallas Cowboys. These two teams are very similar in the fact that they had these up and down roller coaster seasons. Tom Brady actually looked like he was starting to show his age, finished with a negative record, and he somehow still made it to playoffs. Only Tom Brady can find a way to do that. Dak, very inconsistent. He'll turn the ball over, then he'll throw 3 touchdowns. They'll have these games where they look horrible, then they'll have these games where they score 40. Tom Brady was able to show that there is this extreme life that the Buccaneers can still get to in the last week of the season, and that run game was also strong for them in helping Tom Brady out during the regular season. We cannot ignore the run game of Dallas. Tony Pollard and Zeke, they balled out, stepped up, especially when there were injuries to their quarterback position. However, I have learned from the past, and every football fan should know this, in playoffs, never count out Tom Brady. So that's why I'm going with the Buccaneers here. I think the Bucs will beat the Cowboys 24-21. The final NFC Super Wild Card matchup, we had the Vikings and the Giants. If the Vikings are firing on all cylinders, they are very scary. When you get Kirk Cousins balling with Justin Jefferson, best receiver in the league, and then you can go to Dalvin Cook for that run game if you need to change it up, they can be very hard to stop. And then you got the Giants, who relied heavily on Saquon Barkley and a pretty good defense. And these two teams, they give me similar vibes. You got Daniel Jones, who isn't a superstar, crazy, out of this world quarterback, and then you got Kirk Cousins, who actually had a pretty good year, but when it comes to primetime Kirk, he's not the best. He loves the games that nobody's watching. And while I think this Minnesota defense will give up a ton of points, I don't think the Giants have enough offensive power to be able to outscore the offensive power that the Vikings carry with them. So I got the Vikings barely squeezing one out against the Giants, 30-27. Now, let's go over to the AFC side of things. You got the Jags against the Chargers. The Chargers' pass attack is lethal, especially when they have everybody. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. However, they will be without Mike this year. And when one of those guys between Williams and Allen is missing, this team underperforms. Lucky for them, the Jags defense against the pass is not the best. So I think they will stick to their pass attack, and they will get Austin Eckler involved in the receiving game as well, and they will be able to use that still against the Jags defense, and they will win this game 27-20. Let's talk about the Bills against the Dolphins. Obviously, the Dolphins, they had Tua facing injuries and concussions all season long pretty much. He's not playing in this game, and it's not Teddy Bridgewater either. It is Skylar Thompson, third string quarterback, who has made this Dolphins team look very, very bad when he is the QB. They were lucky enough to pull out a victory against the Jets to even be in this playoff spot. And then you got the Bills, who are going to absolutely stampede all over this team. Josh Allen is crazy. He has one of the top receivers in Stephon Diggs, and their defense was also pretty solid this year. And going up against the QB in that whole story that I just told you, it's going to look like a massacre if you ask me. So I think the Bills will beat the Dolphins 41-12. I think those 12 will be all field goals. I don't even think the Dolphins are going to get in the end zone. Bengals and Ravens. This one is not as dramatic, but the Ravens don't have Lamar Jackson. And when they were without him, they were not looking their best. I still will say their performances with Huntley and their other quarterbacks looked better than what the Dolphins were going through, but this offense takes a totally different turn when they don't have Lamar. Those other quarterbacks just can't play to the level of Lamar. Joe Burrow and that offense is absolutely stacked. He'll be firing on all cylinders. He's got that great wide receiver core with T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and then you throw Joe Mixon in the run game. I think this Bengals team is going to have no problem against the backup QB for Baltimore. So give me the Bengals winning 30-13. Let's start with the AFC divisional round. We have the number 1 seed Chiefs earning that bye week, and they will be facing the Chargers in my prediction. The Chargers and Chiefs always seem to have some good games, but it is very hard to keep up with that Chiefs offense. They may have lost Tyreek Hill, but with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback, he could really have any receivers out there, and he'll get them to elevate. And then you throw in the best tight end in the game, Travis Kelce. That guy is a crazy weapon to have on the team for blocking, receiving. He is very good. And the Chargers, like I said, if they're without one of their guys, they don't perform as well. I don't think their defense will be able to stop Patrick Mahomes. This dude is just too fast, too crazy, and you never know what he's going to do. So, with that Mahomes magic, I think this will be a great game, but I do think the Chiefs come out on top 34-24. Next up, the Bills and the Bengals. This was the matchup that we got all so hyped about during the regular season, and we all know the unfortunate accident that happened. Still sending that love to Damar Hamlin, but I think they will meet here again in playoffs. The Bills and Bengals both have these crazy superpower offenses with great weapons. So if you got these two teams that have young baller quarterbacks, both have top 10 wide receivers, it comes down to their defense, if you ask me, and I think the Bills had a much better defensive season, so I think they will both have this crazy offensive game, but I think that the Bengals are going to have a harder time trying to keep up with Josh Allen and that offense. So, give me the Bengals losing this one, Bills winning, and barely doing it, 30-27. NFC divisional round, we got the number 1 seed Philadelphia Eagles, who would be taking on the Buccaneers. And I think this is where the road comes to an end for Tom Brady this season. We saw throughout the season, there were games that they almost lost many times. And one of those games, the first one that comes to my head, is when they played the Cardinals. And when you're going up against the Eagles and Jalen Hurts is in command, that team is nuts. We saw what it was like without Jalen Hurts. They were beatable. They were not as good, but Jalen Hurts is here. He is ready for playoffs, and I don't think Tom Brady is going to be able to keep up. The Eagles got a pretty solid defense as well, and like I said, this team, they are up there with the best when Jalen Hurts is the QB. So I think that the Eagles will live up to their number 1 seed status, and I think they will beat the Buccaneers 27-20. Vikings and 49ers. Now look, the 49ers, we talked about their QB problems. They always seem to be solved. They also have great weapons in their receivers. Their running backs seem to get the job done. And then the Vikings, we talked about who they got over there, Cousins, Jefferson, Cook. They both got good offensive weapons, but the defense for the 49ers, that is the difference in this matchup. The Vikings defense ain't even close to the 49ers defense, and I
still do not like the 49ers.
But I think their defense will save them in this game, and I think the 49ers beat the Vikings 26-23. Now the conference round, let's stick to the NFC. Keep talking about the 49ers, because this is where I think it comes to an end. Look, Brock Purdy, I will not lie, has balled out ever since he was asked to be the QB of this team. He was forced into this position due to injury, and I think a moment of realism will finally hit him in this game. The Eagles are a tough team. That defense, I think, will get to him. I think he will struggle under the pressure of this game, and then also the pressure of keeping up with Jalen Hurts in that crazy offense. So I think this is where the 49ers will finally get out, and the Eagles will move on to the Super Bowl. I think they win 30-20. On the other side, AFC conference round, we got the Chiefs and Bills. We know this matchup. We've seen it before, and every single time it delivers. We get these crazy, exciting games, and I think we'll be due for another one. You think of these quarterbacks, Mahomes and Allen, and they just do crazy highlights every single game they play. You got Josh Allen hurdling guys like it's nobody's business. You got Patrick Mahomes looking this way and hitting a receiver over there. These guys are insane. They're a different breed. That's why they're here. And I think when it comes down to it, the Chiefs going up against this Bills defense are gonna run into some problems. So I still think they shoot it out. I think it's gonna be close, but I think the Bills pull it off and they beat them 31-30. That means I predict the Super Bowl would be Buffalo Bills against Philadelphia Eagles. Both of these teams were very exciting to watch this year, and we have talked about the offense for both of these teams and how great they can be. Jalen Hurts totally changes the attitude of this team when he is healthy. Josh Allen, not only does he have Stephon Diggs to throw to, but he highlights those other receivers with Isaiah McKenzie and Gabe Davis. And while he has all those receivers, you got to be looking at the other side. The Eagles do have a good secondary. You got Gardner Johnson, you got Darius Slade. Those guys are dogs, and both of these defenses are pretty solid, but I do like the Bills defense better. And it's another matchup where it's coming down to who has the better overall team. I know these offenses are going to ball out. We saw A.J. Brown have a killer year whenever Jalen Hurts was the QB. Devonta Smith had his crazy games too. And Miles Sanders also had a great year. And I think the Bills defense, like I keep saying, I think is going to get the better of the opponent. I don't think the Eagles defense will be able to shut down Josh Allen. It is a very hard thing to do. Dude's crazy. With all that said, I think the Buffalo Bills would win the Super Bowl 27-24. That is my prediction for this year's playoffs. And please, be kind. You never know what could happen. For all we know, my Seahawks might beat the 49ers. I'm just saying. This is all for fun. I mean, no hate towards any of the NFL teams, because sometimes you guys think I do, except the 49ers. And with that, if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to comment your Super Bowl prediction and who you think will win in that matchup. I got this. You got this. We all got this. Tell everybody you know, your mom, your dad, your grandma, grandpa, pets, friends, brother, sister, and uncle, to subscribe if they haven't already, and like the video. Share it, and I will see you next time.